guess I'm not for sale.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We are the 1% in Health. Today, we'll be talking to Albert Uster. We're very excited to have him on. We've got Clarissa and Nash as well, myself, Sabe.
Hey.
Hi, you guys.
Hi.
Hey, guys.
Just to start off, I'd like to, again, reference trigger warning, and also we are not professionals. Seek professional help for advice on conditions and what we'll be discussing today. We want to jump right in and talk to Albert. Albert's a longtime friend of mine. We grew up together in a place called Reston, Virginia. We went to a school that's underground. I don't think it has solar panels anymore, but it used to have solar panels. And I showed up from Utah in 1981, 1982, from Utah into Virginia. And Albert and I were in Terracet, and we had some classes together. I was there in second grade, but I think we shared a few classes, didn't we, Albert? It was sixth grade.
Oh, yeah. That was great.
Yeah.
Good times. Crazy. Underground school.
Yeah, it was underground. We'd actually play on top of the school. It had grass on top of the school, and it had a big pyramid we could climb up on and get in trouble for being on top of it.
And remember the best thing was, in the wintertime, they had solar panels, the old school solar panels. They were tubes filled with water that would heat up to give you solar energy. And in the wintertime, they would explode because water expands when it freezes, right?
Yeah.
So these guys,
You've got a good memory.
They never thought that this would go into an area where it freezes. So these are right above where we walked in through the buses. The buses would unload, and then overnight, these solar panels exploded. And we'd have mounds of ice, and then they have like danger signs everywhere. We'd walk into school, it'd be like, literally like over mounds of ice. And it was the most dangerous little path into school. Funniest thing.
I was checked out for that portion. That's great.
That
you
is
remember.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, Albert his family's from Switzerland, and he would bring the most amazing chocolate to school. He was known as the kid who would bring boxes of chocolate to everybody. He was probably everybody's favorite. Was that family-owned business, or where did they come from?
So that was a good story. So, ironically, maybe not ironically, but funny enough, my father, he was an executive chef, turned restaurateur, turned importer, entrepreneur, and he became known as Mr. Chocolate, importing fine Swiss chocolates from Switzerland to the United States for the professional chef.
Wow.
And before that, it's kind of a cool story. I'll give you that a little bit.
Yeah.
He came to the States in 1954 at the age of 22 as a young cook. And he had plans to go on to a career or like a job actually in South America to work his way through. He went from Switzerland to Paris to Jersey Island, came over on the ship, came to New York like months after Ellis Island closed. So 1954 is when they closed it. So he didn't get to go through the Statue of Liberty thing, but that would have been cool. He gets to New York, works at Les Pines at the time, top French restaurant, still around now. And while he's there, instead of going on to South America, he gets a job offer for the Petroleum Club in Houston. He gets a job, goes there, drives from New York to Houston back in 1954, which is crazy. I can't imagine. It was before the interstate highways. So that's a crazy thing. And then works his way up, becomes executive chef at the Petroleum Club. In the meantime, he's also drafted into the U.S. Army Korean War draft.
Wow.
And it was then either go back to Switzerland or go to the army. So he did that. Cross paths with Elvis Presley as well.
Wow.
And then I don't know how, when, but yeah, something around. And then was the opening executive chef for about 11 Hilton hotels. He
Wow.
went on with a career with Hilton, and that was when Conrad Hilton was just starting out. So, first it was Hotel America, then Hilton, and the last one he opened up was the Washington Hilton in D.C.
Wow.
So he's in D.C., opens up the Washington Hilton, and at the time they just built the Watergate, the famous Watergate in D.C., and they were looking for somebody to run the restaurant. So they were accepting bids, and my dad and his buddies from the Washington Hilton said, all right, like, we're done making money for other people. Why don't we do it for ourselves? So my dad and his buddies, they created the Restaurant Corporation of America, put in a bid, and won the bid for the Watergate restaurant. And they ran that from 1968 to 1980. And as of 1968, they're looking for good food. And my dad said, hey, I know some good food in Switzerland. I can, go back and reach out to some of the companies. And the fastest way they were going to figure out to bring cash in was finish the pastry shop first before the restaurant. So that's where chocolate comes in. So coming back to your question about why we got chocolate. So my dad goes back to his company in Switzerland, makes a deal for the pastry shop, gets all the products, the marmalades and chocolate and everything, and brings it in for the Watergate pastry. When they finally sell the business and the partners split their ways in 1980, my dad said, hey guys, I think in addition to cashing out my shares, I want to take the import rights for these 3 companies that we bring products in for, and I'm going to start a company of my own. So that's what he did.
Awesome.
And, went on his own.
And this is when you were living in the same house by the New Bridge pool.
Exactly.
Awesome. Yeah. Would he commute into DC every day?
So yes and no. So I was living there with my mom. My parents divorced.
Okay.
But he was living in Maryland.
Okay.
And he would commute to DC from there, and built up his business in the storeroom of the Watergate Watergate area restaurant.
That's amazing.
And then 1980 went on his own, and with 3 suppliers, and they said, "What are you gonna name the company?" He goes, "I don't know." Somebody said, "Well, you have a good name in the industry. Why don't you name it after yourself?" And he's like, my dad's like more or less a humble guy.
Yeah.
Sheepishly said, well, okay, maybe. So he named it Albert Uster Imports. And I share a name with him.
Of course.
And so then he started Albert Uster Imports and started importing products. And his name was a brand to other chefs. They all knew his name. And that's how we got started and sold chocolate to the neighboring DC restaurateurs. Word quickly spread, and within 3 years, we were on the West Coast. Then opened up a warehouse in the Midwest, and quickly took over all of the finest restaurants, hotels, resorts, country clubs throughout the United States.
Well, I'll tell you guys this: I can still taste the chocolate. He'd bring dark and white. He'd bring 2 boxes, and I would just put my hands in both. So
yeah, let me tell you that. That's the funny thing. So then that part of the story. That's where I would walk into the warehouse and I'd say, "Dad, can I get some of those little chocolates?" And he'd say, "Yeah, sure." So I would just load up the bag and take handfuls and handfuls, and I get them for free. And I said, "Dad, how much do they cost?" He goes, "Yeah, they're about 10 cents each." So they're all right, cool. So I had 0 cost of goods, and then. And like my brain was like, "Oh, my dad says 10 cents. I'll sell for 10 cents each." So I sold it to all my friends, and I would take orders on the school bus, and I was like, literally, I had a great business going. One day, I remember I made like $25, $30 on the school bus on the way home. And
That is awesome.
everybody was using their lunch money.
I think I
spending it
owe
on
you
chocolate.
money then.
Yeah,
Because I don't know if I paid you unless I don't remember, but
yeah.
I owe you some money.
Yeah, so but then guess what?
What?
People started hearing about it. Not just the kids, but everybody. So the teachers, next thing you know, I got called to the principal's office.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Did he order some chocolate?
Yeah, I wish. Then he said, "Hey, listen, there's word that people are spending their lunch money on chocolate." And I was like, "Yeah, it's not making anybody happy, so we better cut it out." And that was the end of my chocolate sales. So,
Well, that's perfect. So this show is to highlight community careers and health conditions that we all have. And so as we dig into, I love that background. I'm glad you gave it to us. Highlights your father's business. Let's talk a little bit more about you coming to age and kind of things you got into and where you went to school and then how you started your career. We'll discuss the our community, our upbringing, and then get into career discussions, and then we'll talk about the condition that you have and kind of educate us and the public on what you have to deal with every day.
yeah, great. All right, so as a perfect segue from where we came from, I grew up in the business. Started out, by nature in sales. Always thought, I want to join my dad's company. Be cool. I always saw that as like the natural. And to get there, I kind of saw it similar to my dad, having been an executive chef, working his way through the industry. I thought, I need a good foundation in the culinary world. So after high school, I went and trained as a pastry chef in Switzerland.
Amazing.
For 3 years, did a full apprenticeship in Zurich, worked in one of the finest pastry shops, and trained as a chocolatier, confectioner, and pastry chef. And
Wow.
yeah, that was I did that in Swiss German.
Wow.
Luckily, I already spoke that from home. So went on after that, worked as a pastry chef in Brussels, then back in the States. And then my next step to be getting ready for going into business with my dad, which was the thought then.
Was he still back in the U.S.?
Still back in the U.S.
Okay.
And so I went and studied hotel management. So hospitality and business management. But that was back in Switzerland as well. So I did that in one of the, the reputation is like the #1 school in the world. It's it's now called the Lausanne Hospitality Business School. And I studied there for 4 years. And so you add that up. I studied for 3 years, then 4 years. I should have like a PhD or something. But
Do you feel like Switzerland is a second home? Is it a shared home? Like how do you feel about the US and Switzerland as far as where you belong and home and all that stuff?
So I grew up always with the idea of, kind of split. Switzerland and America, I was always home in both. And then studying abroad in Switzerland, I came in contact with an amazing group of people. And suddenly my story wasn't unique anymore. All of the other students had the exact same or similar background.
Wow.
They were born in one country, parents from another. They spoke a couple languages at home, had been born, like I said, in one country and then moved around to 3 or 4 different ones by the time they were 17. And, and then at the same time, I read a great article. It was pretty cool. I think it was in The Economist then. And a psychologist started coined the phrase of global nomads. And that resonated with me, to be a global nomad. You're not a citizen of one country. You really are a citizen of the world. Yeah.
Love that. All right. So what then? You basically got a master's in a number of years of school.
Yeah. So then got out of school. Oh, so during the studies, we do an internship. This is kind of cool. So I get into school and they say you have to learn a language, and I was like, I already spoke Swiss German, French, and English,
Jeez.
and High German, and now it's another language. So I said to me, all right, let me try Spanish. I did 6 months and then didn't pay attention, but came back. I had to do another 6 months. I was like, not really getting this. But then I had to do another internship, and that was anywhere in the world. So I said, all right, now I'm going to either learn this language or, it's a waste of time. So I looked for an internship exclusively with Ritz-Carlton and Four Seasons was my goal.
Wow.
And I looked where they had hotels in the Spanish-speaking world. And it was either Mexico City with the Four Seasons or Ritz-Carlton Puerto Rico or Ritz-Carlton Cancun at the time. And I ended up going to Cancun.
Nice.
Yeah.
How long were you there for?
I lived in spring break for 6 months.
Okay. Awesome. The internship.
Yeah.
Like how
Did
you
you
did that.
did you enjoy it? Were you able to enjoy Cancun, or were you working all the time? What was
Nah, I was able to enjoy it. It was great. So like not the spring break type stuff, but
Yeah.
I lived in Cancun in '99. Was there for 6 months and I had an apartment right in front of the hotel in the Zona Hotelera. And first then what do I want to say? My free time I spent in Playa del Carmen. And Playa del Carmen at that time was really bohemian and cool and laid back. And I was hanging out with the locals and picked up Spanish pretty well, and
Awesome.
moved on from there.
Okay. And Albert, if you need to take a break at any time, just let us know.
Sure, no, I'm doing well.
Okay. Awesome. And then, so you do your internship. You're 7-8 years into school.
And then, then I graduate, and I don't want to just be labeled as, all right, the guy who is, working for his dad, and I improved myself. So I switched gears.
Love that.
And since the place I studied, hotel business management, is a business degree, I went into a completely different industry. I applied with Procter & Gamble at their world headquarters in Geneva, Switzerland.
Wow.
And got a job in purchasing. So I was a assistant purchasing manager for 2 years in Geneva. And this is actually a funny story. I ended up, let me start this. Like, I had a friend who got a job there, and he said, this would be great for you. You're going to love it, Albert. And I was like, yeah, Procter & Gamble, great, corporate America, but living in Switzerland. And then he said, yeah, I'm working in fabric and home care. And I was like, great, what's fabric and home care? He's like, Tide, Bounty, and surfactants and things. And I buy surfactants now. I'm like, all right, I know who what surfactants were, but yeah. I was like, I could do that. Sure. And he was buying for different production plants. So then I go for the interview, and it's like a interview with 7 different people. You're taking tests and all this stuff. Then I take the exam, and they said, yep, we like you, Albert. We'd like to make you an offer. So
Awesome.
Great. They send me an offer, and I open the envelope, and it says FemCare. I'm like, FemCare? What's FemCare? And as you know, FemCare probably stands for feminine hygiene products. So I didn't get the fabric and home care, but I'm dealing with all these always Tampax.
This makes me happy.
Exactly, right? That was cool. So I was like, how do I tell my dad? He sent me to study hospitality business management, and then I'm going to work for him. And now I'm going into FemCare. I was like, man, this is crazy. But anyway, so I said, all right, I guess I'll do that. So, it's about the experience. And anyway, it was like about what you're buying the products and everything. And,
It was so
overcame the giggles at the beginning. And then, it was like any other job.
So it's great though, because you were learning different aspects of the industry, of different functions in a business. You were purchasing, you learned how to do management, you learned all kinds of of verticals within industries and stuff. So
I was buying products for 17 plants across Europe, Middle East, and Africa.
Wow.
Negotiating contracts. I had my own suppliers in Finland, in Holland, in Germany, and crisscrossed Europe. And then I got a fateful call from my CEO at the time, who was running the company. My dad was chairman of the board at that time. And they said, "Hey, you've always said you want to join the company, and now would be a time to come over." And it was right when I was offered promotion to be full purchasing manager, not assistant purchasing manager. So it was my first promotion after 2 years. I was loving life. I was skiing in Chamonix in the winter and mountain climbing in the summer. Wakeboarding on Lake Geneva before work, and then I got this job offer to go back and work for my dad. So I go back and do that. Turn my back to life in Europe, and
I gotta know how you made that decision and how you were feeling about that. Like, there's so much left unsaid in just I'm leaving.
Yeah, that was crazy. That was it was like it made me a little pensive now.
That's all right.
No, but yeah, it was like, man, my whole life, and I was 29. I had like an amazing life, career path with Procter & Gamble, and suddenly turning my back on that and switching 180 degrees, more or less.
Were you single, married at the time? Just
single at the time.
Okay.
Yeah. So that wasn't a problem, but yeah, so it was a big decision, but it was like in my gut, it was like something that I always talked about. So my head was telling me to stay with Procter & Gamble in my life. It was great, and my gut was telling me, this is what you've always talked about. Go do it. This is your calling. So I went and did that. Went back, and next thing you know, I'm living with my dad again in the house that I grew up in. And I ended up driving to work with him in the morning.
Wow.
Parking in his parking space, and I'm like, oh man, walking to work with the CEO, and my dad was chairman, like president and chairman at the time.
Yeah.
And I'm walking in, and just have a big X on my back of like, oh, there's the son of the boss. What's he gonna do? And so anyway, fast forward.
Being a father though of someone, my son just got into his own career. I know he was proud that you made the decision to go and do your own thing for a while and get your feet wet in business, learn all these different verticals. You had an amazing job. So when you did come into that work, hopefully the people were proud of what you had done in your career and your schooling, and you weren't just coming in as, daddy's boy and his first job. So hopefully they respected that.
Yeah, you would think, but then there were a lot of the haters.
Really?
Yeah.
So I'm going to interject here. My husband works for his parents and has for 30 years.
Oh, wow.
And we know what that's like, trying to prove yourself up the ladder to be able to make people trust that you will make good decisions.
Yeah.
Taking over.
And it's like, come on, like I can do this. And, and then I was always proving myself. So anyway, so this is kind of cool. So then I worked there for a couple months, and they're giving me random jobs, and I'm not that happy. And anyway, up comes one day, they say, Albert, have you ever thought about trying sales? And I said, no. And they're like, well, would you be open to it? And we had sales reps throughout the country. And they said, like, we can give you sales territory, and you can try your hand at sales and, whatever. Apply your business skills, and it's basically like, let's get rid of them, get them out of corporate, and get them out of our hair. So then they said there are a couple openings. You can go to LA, you can go to New York, or you can go to Miami.
Wow.
And I had been to Miami in 2003 for a weekend, and I thought the place was pretty spectacular. Went down again in January, February. And at that time, I was working on a project for the company in Chicago. There were falling ice signs on Michigan Avenue, and I was wearing long johns under my dress pants. But I remember, Miami was probably warm. So I flew down to Miami again and met up with a friend who actually had studied at the same hotel school with me. And
Nice.
he lived in this great apartment, went wakeboarding before work. And I said to myself, maybe taking a sales territory would not be bad, and it could be Miami. So next thing you know, I take off, drive from DC all the way down to Miami in July 2004, and take over basically South Florida sales for my dad's company.
Wow.
Yeah. And then from there, I tripled sales within 2 years. And
awesome. What do you think? What do you think you did? What did you implement to triple sales?
Just
grind. Just grind,
connecting, networking.
Just putting your effort into it.
Using my skills, my knowledge, my knowledge as a pastry chef, and I'm also a trained chef as well on the culinary side. I got that through my studies in Lausanne. So
all these things came to head, right? All the
everything came together.
Yeah, that's amazing, and that's why I wanted to point that out in the beginning, because I'm sure it has helped you be well-rounded, especially in sales when you can talk about the product and have that expertise. That's amazing. That's great.
Yeah. So I'm like the real deal, the full package. I walk into a kitchen and I was fearless. Everybody said, "Oh, you're fearless because you're named Albert Uster," and I was like, "No, it's because," again, the hater said that.
Yeah.
But I said, "No, it's because I know my stuff. I know the business side. I know sales. I know the product.
Awesome.
I can talk the chef's talk. I can, present. I can go toe to toe with them, preparing all the things." And that's what I did, slowly but surely, worked my way up, and then took on regional sales territory. I took over cruise lines and export sales, worked my way up to regional manager. Then I had basically half the country under me.
Wow.
And then when I left the company, I was doing corporate sales. I was the basically business development, vice president of business development. And I was in charge of the Google account, which was at the time one of our largest accounts. And yeah,
that's amazing.
Kept on going, and that was up until 2018.
Okay.
2018, I had the opportunity to step away from the company, and then 2017. I was like, 2017 and 2018, we sold the company.
Okay.
My family and I. And from there, that was actually kind of prescient in a few respects. I ended up working for the competition at twice the salary. Because they were always underpaying me.
Family business. I get that. Family business. Yes.
They didn't value me. They like, this is just every time I asked for a raise, they were like, "Why do you think you get a raise?" I was like, it's all yours anyway. I always get like, but I need to live, and they're like, well, why are you asking because you think you're special? I was like, no, because I'm good. And like, look at the sales numbers. And
were you married at this time?
That's how I'm still single.
Oh, forgive me.
he didn't do it the Mormon way.
What? No, I wasn't asking that, Sabe.
I'm just saying that because I got teased in our elementary and high school. I was always one of 4 or 5 Mormons, and we got married at 21, 22. Albert, most of our friends are late 30s and 40s getting married. There's a big difference. I always got made fun of, so I get to make fun too.
I was curious because bringing a wife into a family business is a whole nother ballgame. So that's why I was curious.
Yeah, no, I'm still single at the time. And then, where were we? Then we sold the business and then went to work for the competition. And then, then COVID happened. And the family
It's a
business that we just sold
good time to
sold-
sell it, right?
was exactly sold at the height.
Yep.
A year
Wow.
later, we got up to 150 employees, and around they were doing around $56 million in
Awesome.
sales,
Awesome.
and then COVID hit, and they let 2/3 of the employees go,
Oh, wow.
and sales plummeted. They lost a lot of exclusivity with the vendors,
Mm-hmm.
and I was luckily off in a different direction with a new company.
Wow.
And where we go? So yeah, COVID happened. I went to this new company, and I work for them still today, even in spite of my illness. I am the senior vice president of sales and marketing for White Toke, which is a company that does frozen specialty food products in the B2B space.
Okay.
And we supply hotels, restaurants, cruise lines, country clubs, casinos, you name it, across the board, with everything from croissants and Danish, IQF, individual quick frozen fruits and vegetables, desserts, churros, a bunch of different products.
Yeah.
And I head up a sales team now, about 20 people, and we just had a record year last year.
Congrats.
Thanks. It eclipsed everything that I had in my old company and my father's company. We hit 120 million last year, 129 million, and we're still going strong right now. And this year is hitting it out of the park. We're expanding, opportunities left and right, and it's an exciting space to be in.
Well, this podcast is meant for this specific reason. You have a condition, we'll get into that in a minute, and you're doubling your sales productivity in your career, you're impacting your community. We'll get into I want to also talk about some of the hobbies you've done, but being able to thrive in business, you sold the business at the height, went on with your competitor. You've been able to keep thriving with the condition that you have, which is, just, we'll get into that, but that's what this is about. You are thriving with a serious condition, and you're an amazing person. I've been so excited to get you on this podcast and talk about your career and who you were growing up, and just class A type person. Let's talk real quick about marathons and climbing mountains before we get into some of the heavier stuff.
Cool. Yeah, so marathons and mountains, all that stuff. So I guess I never considered myself an athlete, but I guess now in hindsight, I was always a lifelong athlete. Did normally the sports, not just football around the neighborhood. That's where I remember playing with you, like great pick-up football games in the neighborhood.
Yep.
But then in high school, I kind of told myself I wanted to be a runner, and didn't do too well at that. The coaches, they saw me as a runner because I was pretty lean and fairly tall, and some of my friends were runners, so they sent me out as a track team of runners, and I ended up getting tendonitis. Then I got tendonitis like 2 or 3 years in a row, and all through high school I was just injured. I was always at the getting bandaged up.
Oh man.
But I don't know, they are tenacious as well. And after high school, I'm 17, and I was like, I still want to be a runner. And let me actually backtrack from there.
Yeah, please.
The reason why I kind of like running is because when I was 12, I was hit by a car.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you did.
I don't remember. Man,
I'm the one that wasn't hit by a car. I was in a coma. I lost my memory.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I was in 7th grade. I'm 12 years old. Crazy story. My mom she couldn't leave the house. She had a headache. I said, no problem, Mom. I'll go get some aspirin for you because we didn't have any aspirin in the house. So I take my skateboard because I was like everybody's skateboarding at the time in 1987, and ring on my neighbor's door. We roll over to South Lakes shopping center, like 2 miles from my house. We get aspirin and like a couple other things, and then I'm pushing the skateboard, kicking it 1 foot on the skateboard across, like riding back home. And I get up to this crosswalk, and it's getting kind of like around dusk, I guess.
Yeah.
And I'm in the crosswalk pushing the skateboard across the street, and a car comes around, one headlight, doesn't see me, hits me going like 35, 40 miles an hour.
Wow.
I hit the
I
windshield.
vaguely remember this. Vaguely.
Yeah, I vaguely remember, but I told the story so many times.
Gosh.
It's ingrained.
So I had one headlight hitting you at full speed, basically.
Full speed.
Wow.
And yeah, so I hit the windshield, sent me flying like 200 feet in the air. And I landed on the street. I hit my head. Was knocked unconscious. Broke my femur, tibia, and fibula as a compound fracture.
Oh, wow.
Lost I think like 7 pints of blood. I think we have 8 in our body. So I lost almost all my blood. Got major transfusions. They medevaced me to Fairfax Hospital. Like I was in a coma for 6 days afterwards.
Wow.
And woke up without any memory and severe head injury in the hospital more or less for 3 months after that. And then was in traction and a body cast, and then 1 leg hinge cast, and went back to school beginning of April in a wheelchair. 7th grade.
I was gonna say that wasn't elementary because we were in, what was it, Burkhalter?
Yeah.
It wasn't 6 because we were together in 6th grade with Burkhalter, if I remember correctly. And so 7th grade. Oh wow.
So 7th grade, Langston Hughes.
Yeah.
Langston Hughes in Reston.
Yep.
And so go back to school in a wheelchair. I fully recovered, but I was doing physical therapy throughout that year. Continued doing it in 1988 to get stronger, and then was out of sports for like a year, but made a full recovery. Graduated, made it to the next year in school, 7th grade to 8th grade, even got tutors. And anyhow, that kind of made me, at an early age, realize that, I dodged a bullet.
You really did.
Got a second lease on life. And
it was a long recovery, and you went through a lot, but you lived through it.
Yeah, so I thought, I don't know. And something I just started thinking when I did stuff, I said because I can.
Yeah.
Because I'm able.
Yep.
And now coming back to the running story, it's kind of like I want to be a runner because I can.
Yeah.
And I want to everybody says they hate running, but I kind of like it because I can, and I can move forward with my own 2 feet and my legs. And that was almost taken away from me. So all the more reason. So I just started running a little bit. When I moved to Switzerland for my apprenticeship, started signing up for 10K races, and drove all around with my car, entering these little 10K races. Some in the mountains, some in the valleys, some around lakes, all in beautiful settings.
Must be beautiful, yeah.
Switzerland, like I told you, I have to give you all those.
I saw some of the pictures.
I was the tips for those trips you're going to take. Yeah, so started running, and I was also always a passionate biker, road bikes. So did those all the time, and in my time in Switzerland, I would bike, I would run, and go skiing. Then I started into mountain climbing. Then I started entering every race I could. Then I started doing marathons, half marathons, and that got a little bit tiring. I got tired of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted a bigger challenge. I started doing alpine marathons.
Wow.
That's like a marathon with altitude climb, and then started. My dream was to do triathlons, and I was always worried about the swimming part. And now we get to where I get a wife, or I get a girlfriend, get introduced to my
And
wife.
back to Clarissa.
Thank you.
She wants to know about the kids and the wife and all this
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly.
I know, I'm all about
Family level.
relationships and dynamics there. And sorry.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so we get there, and so I'm living in Miami, and I'm 2 years into my time in Miami, and there's a friend of mine. I can tell you, he's like, I had a barbecue at his apartment at this place called the Flamingo in South Beach.
Mm.
Now, the Flamingo in South Beach is an apartment building and pretty famous as well as infamous for some cool parties, crazy parties, interesting group of, it's 1,500 apartments, to put it in perspective, and like a lot of interesting people living there. People like to have a lot of fun. So, and everybody's pretty young. We had this barbecue at a friend's house, and his girlfriend at the time had brought a friend along who was getting bored and was going to leave. So his girlfriend knew me, also lived in the building, and said, "Hey, Albert, come down. I want to introduce you to somebody." So I go down to this barbecue, and she introduces me to her friend and says, "Albert, this is Maury. Maury does triathlons." And goes, "Maury, this is Albert. He does marathons." And then I was like, "What? A girl who does triathlon?" And she's like, "Oh, a guy who does marathons." And we were like, if the word goober is a good word here, and we were like goobers. We were like, "Oh my god," like poking each other, like, you do like races? That's cool. So after we did the barbecue, and like, oh, I have to tell you this. My friend, if you ever watch this podcast, it's great. His name is Neil. He is like, his apartment. If you ever wondered in Sesame Street what Oscar the Grouch's place where he lived looked like, it was Neil's apartment.
Wow.
It was Neil's apartment. I mean, like the
what a way to describe it.
Paper plates with cold pizza in his kitchen, stuff growing in pots. The smell of pot.
You're throwing him under the bus on this podcast.
Yeah, but it's all true. So yeah, it's all true. But yeah, so anyway, so the crowd rolls out of there, and they're all saying, "We're gonna go party and go clubbing." And this new interesting female that I met and says, "Well, I'm not going." So I said, "Well, if you're not going, I'm not gonna go." But if you're not gonna go, that means it's like midnight and we're going to bed early. So then let's go biking tomorrow. So she said, "Okay."
Awesome.
And the next thing you know, we went for a 2-hour bike ride.
Wow.
On Key Biscayne and back. And I said, "Let's go have lunch." And then after lunch, I said, "What are you doing for dinner?" And then when we said goodbye, I said, "What are you doing tomorrow?" And then we went on like 6 consecutive dates. So like, "What are you doing at dinner tomorrow?" I'm going to come to my place, I'll cook, and then next thing you know, we were dating.
So you weren't playing hard to get. That's
yeah.
That's
But
interesting.
then February, for Valentine's Day, 2006, she gives me a card, and the card has an entrance to a sprint triathlon. And to enter a sprint triathlon, you have to get a license for the Triathlon Association. And last year, so suddenly I'm a triathlete, and did my first triathlon in 2006.
Wow. And she had done it before. Obviously.
She'd done a couple sprints, yeah.
Yeah.
So we started off doing them together,
Awesome.
And then I fell in love with the sport, and she then, so then fast forward 2008, we get married. Then we have our first kid, 2010. She says, all right, no more triathlons for me. I'm getting too scared. Now with the kids, and we have a second kid in 2011. And I'm still like taking my time doing the triathlons.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway, fast forward to like 2020, I had racked up about, I don't know, like I don't have triathlons anymore, but on this website called athlink.com, you can track a lot of races, and most of them pop up automatically that you've done. You enter your name, and there I have about 160,
Wow.
180 races that I've done over the last 20 years or so. So I got addicted and signed up for every 10K, every triathlon.
That's
and
awesome.
Went from sprint triathlons to international distance to half Ironman, and did about 9 half Ironman triathlons, grinding them out, putting in the hours and not in training, putting it in for the race, but sometimes could have trained a little bit more. But yeah, that was my life.
So you were raising kids, you were thriving in your career, you were out doing your thing physically and running these triathlons and such. It's amazing. And that's why I wanted to make sure we highlighted that, because I didn't know there was that many races on that website, but I wanted to make sure I highlighted climbing the mountains and doing all the marathons and triathlons. I've never done one. I hate running. I know I need to. I actually have run.
Nice.
I did it twice this week, and it's probably the first time in a long time. But so it's very inspiring, Albert.
Yeah. So I'm do that. Like the reason I was doing it goes back to having lost the ability, and I kind of said because I can, and if I don't, I'm like not living up to my potential. So like, and then I was like, wait, I can run 40. I can run 26.2 miles. Maybe I can even run more. So then I started doing ultra marathons.
Wow.
I did a race in Vietnam, which was 250 kilometers in 6 days in the mountains of northwest Vietnam with a full backpack, where we had our sleeping bag and all the supplies we had for 6 days and clothes and everything. And that was my biggest race.
That's amazing.
Amazing.
So that was fun and pushing the limits. And then I climbed the Mont Blanc, the highest mountain in Europe. Became a scuba diver when I was down in Mexico. Started pushing like doing extreme sports was my thing. I was a skydiver as well. Done about
how many times have you done that?
Yeah, not that many. I've done like 15 jumps.
That's a lot.
Yeah, not
that many.
No, that's a lot for me.
I know.
But yeah, like always, just because I can. It's like why? It's like I can push the boundaries and let's see where it goes. And to your point, so that's kind of my metaphor for life, or my mantra or my go-to is because I can, and apply that in business as well as in physical challenges.
It's amazing. It's so many accomplishments,
I love that.
and you're still accomplishing so much. We're coming on about 50 minutes here. Should we jump into condition, and you educate us and those listening on what condition you have? And I'm just so amazed at your humility. You're a high performer at all levels. Your attitude, just we've reconnected here in the past couple months, and your outlook on life with your condition that you're about to talk about, and your attitude is absolutely inspiring, and is the highlight of this year for me, to be honest with you. So let's talk about that. My wife has MS, and she can't run anymore, and she can't do exercising and in the gym anymore, and it's been devastating to watch, and it's taking away some of her abilities in photography. So I've told her about you and the inspiration and your attitude and how you're approaching what phase you're at in life now. It's truly inspiring, and I you're our first guest, and you're our first guest for a reason. So let's get into some heavy topics, and
Oh,
let's
no,
talk
you're too
about it.
kind. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Teeing that up like that. That's kind. Yeah, so that's how I've led my life up to this point. Fast and furious, I guess. No regrets. Just always, kind of, taking every day, making the most of it. And then suddenly, let's go back. That was May 2020. COVID happened, and everybody's like, the world stands still. And I was like, all right, then let's just, I have more time to train now. So I'm out there training hard, but like for no more races because they've all been canceled. But pushing myself, going out there, running, biking every day, early in the morning, either 3 miles, 5 miles, and then 20 miles on the bike, and then some swimming in the pool.
Wow.
And then one day in May 2020, I'm riding my bike on my tri-bike and doing a loop on Key Biscayne, and I suddenly have problems holding my neck up or my head up on the tri-bike. And like basically, as you see right now, I have trouble holding my head up. That's what the first thing was, that neck weakness. And I had problem breathing. So then I'm like, what's going on? Went back, finished the lap, went home, and I told my wife, and she said, well, why don't you go see a chiropractor? All right. So I go see a chiropractor, and he does all these tests, and he goes, yeah, but you have a weak neck. It's like, who has a weak neck? Like, that doesn't make sense. I'm strong. Like, I was like benching 150, 160. I was doing 50 push-ups at a drop. I could do a triathlon, at the drop of a hat. I could swim, a mile or two without any big deal. I'd run 10K just like, any day of the week. And suddenly this guy tells me I have a weak neck. So then he starts doing exercises. He puts a weight on my head. Exercising futility. I couldn't do it. But we do that for like 4 or 6 weeks. And then I go see an ENT. ENT says, let's check your nose. Oh, you have a deviated septum, and let's do an allergy test. Okay, you were actually allergic to like 80% of the things on my panel.
Jeez.
So then they start me on Zyrtec, and so I'm taking Zyrtec, and I know I have a deviated septum, and I have a weak neck. And then that guy sent me to a neurologist. And at the time, I'm still like, again, strong and have a weak neck, but I don't know why he's sending me to a neurologist. So then the neurologist says, like, hold your arms up by your side and don't let me push them down. And then he goes, yeah, there's slight weakness on the left side. And I said, come on, man. Let me do it again. And he goes, all right. Slight weakness on the left side. I was like, come on, one more time. I was like, I'm competitive,
Yeah.
So I was like, like, can't tell me I'm weak. I'm like strong. He goes, yeah, okay. And anyway, slight weakness on the left side. Then he like does the other tests, like pulling my arms and pushing my hands, and ultimately, like, looks at me relatively sternly, and then says, I'm going to send you to another neurologist. He's an ALS specialist. And I have no idea what that means. Like, I'm like, yeah, whatever. It's like roll off my back like water. I'm like,
wow,
sure, no problem. And then that guy wouldn't have an in-person appointment until like February.
Oh my gosh.
So he did a Zoom call with me, misdiagnosed me with myasthenia gravis over a Zoom call, and gave me a prescription. And I said, I'm not going to take this prescription. This doesn't seem right. And then my wife, who works for a multinational company, has a friend who works for the same company up in Boston, whose husband works at MGH, Massachusetts General Hospital, Harvard. And he said, if Albert needs like suspects anything, get him up to MGH. We'll like run the best test on anything and get him taken care of. So the following week, following week was like in January, early January, I fly up to Boston. They do a test. It's not myasthenia gravis. So like they said, we don't know. Can you come back next week? Next week they do a test and say, nope, it's not myasthenia gravis. Let the other neurologist come back in and say, yep, it's not myasthenia gravis, it's ALS. So
Wow.
we've gone like there's like it wasn't like a big shock. Like
How much time went by?
So from the first time they told me the symptoms, that was like from October to January.
Oh wow.
So I've been going through like reading about all kinds of possibilities.
This is the height of COVID too.
Yeah, height of COVID. Yeah, so
hard to get in. Telemedicine just became a thing, right? They allowed doctors to have more openness about what they did in the telemedicine law. So wow.
Yeah,
travel, all the restrictions, wearing masks, not knowing what you have. That's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, so they say, hey, can you have your wife come up with you? That second time she was with me, we get this diagnosis, ALS, and we're both kind of looking at each other in disbelief, like, what does this mean? Like, shell shocked, kind of like, this is weird. Like,
did you know anything about ALS at the time?
Not really. I mean, Stephen Hawking's and like randomly, Lou Gehrig, yeah, but like nothing, nothing deep. So then, they started me on a few drugs, treatment right away, end of January 2020. I'm sorry, 2021. And yeah, ever since then, like I said, symptom onset was May 2020. Took me 6 months to figure out, put all pieces together, and they try and do it through a process of elimination. They say some people it takes them even longer to find out. 6 months is actually fast.
Okay.
So other people will be going down rabbit holes for a year or two, at which time the disease will actually progress. So it's important to
find it
get it early. And I guess, much earlier I couldn't diagnose it, but maybe like a month or two if I hadn't gotten to run around with the doctor. But then I started treatment, a number of drugs, Rilosol, Nuedexta, started on another one called Radicava, infusions shortly thereafter. And yeah, suddenly I'm sucked into this world of hospitals, doctor's visits, and medicine. At the same time while I'm still working. Right.
Yes, while still working, were you running? Were you doing anything during this time? What were your symptoms like?
Yeah, at that time I'm still running. I'm still active, and it kept on getting harder and harder. But I was like,
push through.
I was still running 3 to 5 miles in the morning.
Wow.
Drop off the kids from school, then run a couple laps on the track, out onto the beach, back, hit the gym relatively hard, and kept on going like that up until probably end of 2021. So that lasted like almost a year that I was still able to do stuff. And then, got progressively harder. I went on a trip actually. I don't know if I go in there, but then end of 2021 went on a family trip, and we went to the Galapagos. My wife's from Ecuador, so that was one thing we could do during COVID. We got on this boat, and there I went scuba diving, and I hyperventilated underwater, and literally almost died because like I couldn't regulate the air, and I was like sucking in, blowing out air. I went through a whole tank in like 20 minutes, while everybody else would have been like down for much longer had it not been for me. And still not knowing what I had like completely, I've gone to like on mountain climbing as well. And, still in spite of it, I didn't know what my limitations were. But I knew it was tough. So, long story short, like my energy levels kept on going downhill over 2020, 2021, and 2022 more. And, but I kept on working, and I'm still working now.
Yeah, let's go into that a little bit. I was amazed at your work as being good with this new lifestyle that you have to live with. Why don't you describe that a little bit? I thought that was awesome what they're allowing and what you're able to still do. And let's dive into that, because again, you have the can-do attitude, and while a lot of people are bunkering down during COVID, you're out with a major condition, still running miles and scuba diving and conquering the world. It's incredible. It's inspiring. So let's discuss, go into what you're able to do now and describe that a little bit.
Yeah. So with work, I had the fortune of, a boss that's really understanding. Say we support you 100%. Let me know when and if you have more troubles. But for me, until you tell me you can't, you can do. You're in charge. So I continue my day to day. Actually, again, moved from vice president to senior vice president of sales and marketing, and growing the sales. I have a great rapport and still do with the sales team, getting the best out of them, and pushing and driving, and again, working on the success of the company and business, and trying to hone my skills or my personal challenges, like try to keep them in check, or like the challenges in tech, but like keep pushing on all fronts.
It's amazing, Albert.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So did you ever discuss this with your children at this point? Because I'm sure they're seeing the effect on you, going from riding the bike or swimming, everything, to just coming down from all this. And what was the discussion, if you don't mind me asking?
Sure. So we kept the official diagnosis, telling them that it's ALS. We kept it under wraps for, what was it, the better part of, I guess, up until last year. So we always said, like, yeah, Dad is just slowing down. We don't know what it is. We didn't want them to be afraid. So we didn't want them to know the label, that they go Google ALS and start reading, scary things and getting worried. Right. So we waited until.
And how old were your children, or are they your children?
So my children are now 11 and 12.
Okay.
So when they were 10 and 11 is when we told them, and we didn't want to spoil their. It was right before they were going to summer camp in 2021, I guess. So when they came back from summer camp 2021, is when we told them. Okay. And it was amazing. They've actually, since then as well as now, they're very understanding. They're very compassionate. They're well-rounded. They understand, how to, I don't know, they're very helpful and caring. They accommodate me, and I also communicate. I think I communicate well with them, telling them that I'm dealing with it in a good way, and it's nothing that should, they have to be afraid of.
Absolutely.
And something I can say there goes back to the way we raised them. My wife is Catholic, and I basically lived my life as a agnostic atheist, secular. I didn't have a religion. I officially am Protestant on my passport in Switzerland, but I did go to church and don't have a big belief system. However, when I got married to my wife, they said, all right, well, you're Catholic, so we're going to have this interfaith marriage. So we go to a couple's house and they say, all right, we'll fill out this form. And my wife fills it out. She's Catholic, blah, blah, blah. And I fill it out. And they get the paper back and they go, okay, Albert. So, and Maury, thank you. We have your forms. And, okay, start with you, Albert. Albert, you're a Buddhist. And my wife goes, he's not Buddhist. And they go, now, Maury, we're here. This is an interfaith marriage thing. And this is why we're here. This is counseling. You have to accept his faith. And they're like, but he's not Buddhist. And she's like, bursts out laughing again. And I'm like, well, if you have to corner me and say, choose a religion, like, what do you believe in? I was like, all right, well, Buddhism is something I've always dabbled in. So I'm putting down Buddhist. If you put down Catholic, I'm putting down Buddhist. And that punctuated it there. So, yeah. So fast forward to the kids. I've raised the kids as, so I've done much more reading and learning in depth about Buddhism and meditation and all of that. And I use that as my teaching mechanism for the boys.
Awesome.
While my wife raises them as Catholic. Now, fast forward with the disease, I feel like Buddhism has given me an amazing strength and resilience to see past what I'm dealing with, and allows me to kind of, I know Buddhism just fits really well with my belief system and my life and my values and the challenges that I've always taken upon myself with races and the huge challenges. And like Buddhism is the path. The path is the way. And you create the reality. You live life in the present. You don't worry about the past. You plan for the future. So I tell my boys, listen, we know we're here in the present. We have to live in the present. We're not going to be here forever, but we have the time together now. So I use that, the Buddhist philosophy, to teach them about life as well as about my disease.
It's beautiful, Albert.
That is beautiful. Yeah.
Talk about what you did this past weekend. You sent me some cool pictures with your boys.
Last weekend, what did we do?
Football. Some flag football.
Thank you. Yes. I forgot, like, my head's spinning with all of the games we go to. So, yeah, so my biggest joy, I'd say, is, watching my kids grow up and what I'm able to pass on to them. And this past weekend, they had a couple pretty cool flag football games. My youngest, Matthias, their names are Matthias and Albert as well. He's Albert the 6th. I was the 5th.
There are 6 of you. That is a pretty important name.
Yeah. Pretty cool. So we kept that tradition going. And then my wife said for the second one, it's like she deferred to me on the first one, said, all right, I'll give it to you. And then the second one, she goes, all right, but the second one has to be like a Spanish name. So we aligned on Matias.
I love that.
Nice.
And so Matias had this amazing flag football game this weekend. And he is just a dynamic little guy. I mean, he's growing up as well. But
he was playing with some 6'4". This is 8th graders, right?
Exactly.
One was 6'4". These were some big kids.
So my son is decent size for an 11-year-old, but he plays so well. He's playing with kids that are coming from another school, like an inter-regional team or whatever, and they're 8th graders. My son is in 5th grade. He's like 4 foot, I don't know, 8, and this other kid's 6'4" in 8th grade. So the crazy thing is, like he ends up scoring 3 touchdowns. They win the game 36-30. the other team, and so my son scores 3 touchdowns. They ended up
Amazing.
scoring 4 in total, and some other field goals. I don't know, whatever. However, he gets 36, and with 40 seconds left in the game, it was 30-30, and then they score a touchdown.
Awesome.
That sealed it. And these other kids from this other school who are older, they all, I don't know if they all, but for hyperbole and emphasis of this chat here, they all started crying
Awesome.
for losing
Awesome.
the game against 5th graders. And
Oh,
literally,
you
if you ever see the movie Sandlot,
oh my gosh.
That was filmed here in Utah.
No way.
Yeah, just right in Midvale. So it's close to home.
My son's team is exactly like that. There's my son, who's the little guy, and then there's a fat guy, and there's a tall guy, and somehow they beat the guys that are like the Jaguars with their names on jerseys and crazy organized.
That is awesome.
So yeah,
sounds like you got that from his pops.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So Albert, what would you like to tell podcasts and the people about your career, community, condition? The message is clear. If we can do things, we should be doing them. No excuses, no COVID excuse. No, get out there and do it if you can. What else would you like to say?
Yeah, I mean, that's my motto. Get out there and do it if you can, because you can, while you can. Don't sit back and wait for something to happen to you. You have to make your reality. You have to seize the moment. Again, live life in the present. Right now, with ALS, I was thrown this curveball. I quickly figured out, what it means, what I need to do. I told you about the medicine, the doctors, the diagnosis. Got that lined up. Once I did that, I was, kind of said, all right, now let's reset, and this is a new life, but I can't give up. Gotta keep going, and I'm still working, and
why do you work?
Well, that's a good question. No,
I think
no.
I love it because when we get into some of my podcasts about my story, I'll talk about why I work. But why do you work still?
So I work because, work. I give back to. I thrive with a team setting. I thrive with motivating people. I thrive with setting a goal and beating it. And working obviously to serve as a role model for my kids, show them what's possible in spite of everything, and to never give up, and always apply themselves. And just to put it in perspective, my kids right now, 11 and 12, 11 and 12, 5th and 7th grade, straight A students. They come home, they're doing their homework, they're doing their project. It's insane. I drive the point home every day to them. Listen, it's because you can, and I don't want to see anything less than your full potential. And I stay on top of them. I lead by example, and I'd say, like I said, just make the most of the here and now.
Mm-hmm.
And it sets you up for the future, but you can't dwell in the past, and you have to make the most of the powers that you have, things you have control of.
Powerful. Can you talk a little bit? You've told me about support groups that you go to, and you talked about how they're shocked that you were so positive about your current condition. And can you talk about that a little bit? That's powerful. There's help out there. What are you doing in those support groups? And talk about that a little bit.
Sure. So for ALS, they have groups. If you're recently diagnosed, you can call into these Zoom calls. And I dial in, or I have dialed in the past several times. I was actually on one just before I jumped over this one.
Oh my gosh.
It was,
thank you for doing this.
It's called a fireside chat with ALS patients. And they were talking about one guy who actually I don't know how true it is, but I hope it's true. It actually has a reversal of ALS. One
Wow.
of the few cases. So, Dr. Richard Bedlack, he's at Duke University, one of the leading neurologists working on ALS. He apparently has a case of reversal. So, when people were sharing their stories on this podcast, I didn't jump on that one to engage, but on other ones, I'm on these calls and everybody shares a story, and most of them are sitting around on their couches. They've given up. They kind of said, like, I have this disease and, I can't do anything anymore. And I'm usually dialing in from my office at WeWork with my headset on. Apologizing for coming late, but give my 2 cents worth and tell them my diagnosis and then. And afterwards, everybody's asking for my phone number and email as I tell them what my treatment is, what my plan is, how I'm responding to the condition and how I'm overcoming it.
And how
And
you shed light. You shed just
I power
absolute.
past it.
It's amazing. It's so beautiful.
Wow.
And just talking about the seriousness of this condition and with it takes an emotional toll, like you said, on your kids and your wife and your work and everything. And your positive attitude just helps everything. It's just
So
beautiful.
this is actually a beautiful thing. My wife, she sometimes says, Albert, it's the reason we as a family are fine is because you're fine.
Love it.
Absolutely.
Your attitude,
Yep.
makes the children not be afraid. They feel safe and secure because you're not running around the house with your head like a chicken with its head cut off. You're showing that you're fine, so they're fine and they're good in school. They, like I said, they kept the grades are up. I support them everywhere I can. If I can go to their matches or play football, I engage with them as much as I can. I always used to cook with them and show them how to cook. Now I can't use my hands anymore or my arms, so I joke. I'm like, if you've seen the movie Ratatouille, basically pulling their hands or telling them, pour the flour in there, pour the water in there, move the pot over here, and suddenly my wife is now, who hates cooking, doesn't know how to cook. She's suddenly forced to be in the kitchen with the kids, and I'm telling everybody how to do everything.
Yeah.
So we're having a good time cooking family meals together. We have more meals at home now, more meals together as a family. It's brought us closer together and sharing, thoughts and emotions and how we feel about each other, how we feel about life, and to put a different perspective on things.
Wow.
So powerful. Albert, thank you so much for sharing your story.
No, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it makes me emotional. I'm not an emotional person. So again, your attitude, and I've said this now 100 times on this podcast, your attitude gives me strength. It gives your family strength. It's hopefully gives strength to the listeners out there. Continue to do amazing things. Continue to be an inspiration to us. It's your story, not just surviving with the condition and thriving, but the triathlons, marathons, the going to school for 7-8 years, living and speaking how many languages? 4 or 5 languages,
5 languages. Yeah.
You've done so much in life. We wanted to highlight that. We wanted to highlight how you thrive with your condition. Thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, just
Albert, I want to say something. Albert, you're freaking amazing. You inspire me. I'm sitting here in awe. Usually I can be talking away and I'm just like, I'm overcome, whether you know it or not, you are a hero, to your family, to us. I don't know what to say,
Thanks.
other than I am your biggest fan. And if I can do anything for you, I will. I absolutely love you and want to be in service to you. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, you're amazing.
Oh, wait, let me add one thing. Today was kind of cool on the front of amazing things. So my life has been amazing. It's crazy. It's like serendipity. Just everything falls into place in a weird way all the time. I always have like these pinch me moments, and I used to have these pinch me moments when things were going great. I'd say to my wife, I can't believe our life. It's like perfect. There's nothing wrong. And then suddenly ALS comes along, and suddenly it resets, and we have to figure things out. But
Yeah.
now I'm on another one of these tracks of like serendipity and pinch me moments, and rolling along. And like I'm engaged with the ALS Association, locally and nationally. I work with MGH to raise money for research. I work with what was the other one? There was another organization, Augie's Quest. I failed to mention that earlier. Augie Neto unfortunately died about 2 weeks ago
Mm.
of ALS, 18 years with the disease.
Wow.
But I don't know, I think like 15 of them without speaking as a quadriplegic with a tracheostomy, but was still able to write with his big toe and communicate with the outside world. And I used to exchange emails with him just up until 2 weeks ago, and until he passed away.
That's a great tribute.
Amazing story there. Augie Nieto is the founder of Life Fitness. He's the guy that basically invented exercise equipment back in the
Wow.
70s. He's a bodybuilder, drove Ferraris, lived a crazy life, lived in Laguna Niguel, California, I think. Married to a beautiful wife, and in 2005 was diagnosed with ALS. And he then was in denial, as I was more or less, and said, "This can't be me." And slowly but surely, it was him, and it overtook him. And he then started a foundation, Augie's Quest, to raise money and funds for ALS. And I don't even know how I heard of him, but I did, and I wrote to the website, and they wrote me back, and next thing you know, I'm on a Zoom call with a lady from his organization. The call turned into a 45-minute like serendipitous moment that we just connected like best friends, sharing stories. And she goes, "You remind me of Augie before he got sick." And I was like, "Wow, okay." And she says, "After this call, I'm going to write up everything we talked about. I think we have some great ideas. I'll give you information on ALS and everything, and we'll talk again." And in that email, she said, "We're having a fundraiser in California at the Ritz-Carlton Laguna Niguel, and love to have you come and with your wife." And this was September last year. I was like, I told my wife, "I think I have to go." And she's like, "What? You talk to this person on the phone?" I was like, "No, I think I have to go." So I booked a ticket and flew by myself to LA, went to his gala fundraiser, met him, met a gentleman named Mitch Albom as well.
Oh.
He's the author of Tuesdays with Maury.
Yeah.
And life now 15-year friend of Augie Nieto's as well. I met him, flew out there at the gala. They raised $1 million from one dinner.
Wow.
At that event. Augie raised $152 million with Augie's Quest in the past several years of his foundation.
Truly amazing.
And I wrote back and forth to him and said, I think we're cut from the same cloth, he and I.
Got the fitness background. We
connected on a pretty deep level.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that, and thank you for sharing about the foundations and kind of what you're doing. You're also there's something with a commercial, something might come out this year, maybe.
So I've been taking this one drug called Radicava, and Radicava has a thing called Journey Mates, journey mates are like, I don't know, mates who accompany you if you have questions about the drug or need help. And one of them, I told her that, I'm really responding well to this drug and it's helped me a lot. I feel like my muscles respond faster, and I feel like when I'm on the drug, I feel like I have a stronger bite. I'm able to speak better. And she said, would you be interested in possibly filming like a testimonial or something? And that was in July, and then apparently she'd been sending me emails forever and a day, and I always deleted them because I thought it was spam. Then recently, I got on a call with another one of these Journey Me people, and she said, wait, would you want to do an infomercial for us? And she said, I need to connect you with this other woman. The other woman said, I've already been in touch with Albert. Long story short, but he never responded to my emails.
Jeez.
So last 2 weeks ago was the time they finally said, all right, let's connect. We connected, and they told me to do a podcast Zoom call with them, and they said they liked my story and they love to invite me to do a commercial. So I filmed the commercial last week, and it's now on the cutting table, and I should be doing an infomercial for Radicava ORS, which is the new oral drug, the latest, the most effective one for treatment of ALS.
Awesome.
Look at you paving the way.
And we've talked about getting your book written, about all this stuff, right?
Sorry?
Getting your book written as well. We want to do that.
Oh, yeah. I'd love to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get a book written.
What else would you like to get done here? What's your forecast?
So I'm doing a lot for charity right now. As I mentioned, I went to the Lausanne Hospitality Business School. I actually just had a Zoom call for an hour today with the school. My idea was that they have 100 alumni associations around the world, and they're all in hospitality. I said, why don't they all do a gala dinner one night a year? And I would say I put up $10,000 of my own money, and have them each of the alumni association groups would also match that $10,000 times 100. We get $1 million raised, and that should go for a scholarship, a series of scholarships for students in need, and the remaining money would go to the local ALS chapters in those respective countries. So they literally are bringing on someone to run like a not scholarship foundation arm at the school. That person's being hired in May, so it's perfect timing. Again, serendipity.
Yep.
The guy said, Albert, I love this. I love the idea. We're going to make it happen. And, off to the races. That was today.
That reminds me, you also paid for our 30th year high school reunion. Albert gave a large donation to our 30th reunion, and I think it covered the cost of everything. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
Thank you for making that possible. That was
No
interesting.
problem.
That was
And
interesting.
then the other thing I'm doing right now is with the ALS Association, we're doing a walk. It's going to be a 5K ALS walk, May 13th in Miami. I am the community champion for Miami and all of South Florida. And the goal is to raise $65,000 with all the teams. I'm proud to say that my team, as of today, my team alone, and there are I think like 20 teams, my team alone has 80 members, and our goal was to raise $3,000 for my team, for every team, to get to that 65,000. And my team so far, with another month and a half, 2 months to go, we've raised 15,500 so far.
Awesome.
And I'm bringing in corporate sponsors. One of the companies that I work with is called Chef's Warehouse. They're a specialty foods provider. I know the CEO from my business dealings, and I texted him today saying, "Hey, Chris, I'd like to talk to you about a couple of things." And within 5 minutes, the CEO, mind you, texts me back and says, "Let's talk tomorrow." And I said I'm ALS now, and not in great conditions, but I'm still working. And anyway, I have some ideas, and I'm wanting to ask you about multiple charity sponsorship or donations. So I'm talking with him tomorrow,
Awesome.
and I'm also organizing 2 other big charity dinners. I have a country club in Palm Beach that donated the whole entire country club
Wow.
to host a gala, and I want to bring in the local community who has some money in Palm Beach, get them to be charitable and support ALS. I expect to have that going, and there I'm pulling on my chefs and all the community, all the people that I've worked with over the years,
Wow.
all my network of chefs and restaurateurs and people who work in country clubs and hotels and cruise line. I'm going to lean on all of them, ask them to step up, and so far, it's pretty nice to see that everybody's responding very positively. I have the executive chef from the Breakers in Palm Beach, who is it's actually a good story. He's on board automatically. He said, 1,000% we're supporting you, Albert. Let's figure out the date. Right now we talked today. It's going to be in June sometime. So I'll tell you more, hopefully at a later time. But we can maybe get you guys to come do a podcast at the event. Yeah, that would be fun.
That would be awesome.
But interesting other story, talk about serendipity. The former executive chef of the Breakers, there was a chef named Matthias Raditz. He passed away from ALS in, I believe it was 2005. So ALS is very close to the chef community in Palm Beach, as well as to me, because he was that chef was a good friend of my father's. And so now we're going to do it in the name of Chef Raditz, in my name, and the Breakers and the Chefs Association of West Palm Beach.
Wow.
Wow.
So it's all coming together, bit by bit. And I'm just getting started.
Okay, I just have to say, like, listening to you, every experience you have had in your life in the past
Can you guys still hear me?
bringing you to right now. And then I think that your practice of being present has allowed you to be so creative in your condition and how to use that for good. So we have like the past, the present, and what you're doing is going to create ripples for the future. And I just love seeing that in your story. That is amazing.
Yeah, you just plowed, like I said, your attitude and your foresight and your forecast of life. You took us on a journey. And you've taken me on a journey as we've reconnected. Like, here I am with bipolar, and I complain about my life, and I have depression at times, and I'm mental at times, and I'm crazy about life sometimes, and my outlook gets cloudy, and it gets, and here you are, just plowing through life with, all your momentum in your career, your family, your kids, all the connections, your business, your attitude, the marathons. It's just, you're leveraging all of that to do fantastic things, and there's a bright future, and you see that, and you are living in the present right now. It's truly inspiring. I've said it now. I've now said it like 6 times, but
thanks, man.
Okay, so in all of this, I have felt inspired that I want to do research or donate. How can people contact you or contact a foundation that you would recommend that they support or donate to help all of your cause?
And so for this short term, right now I have the ALS walk in May 13th. I have a link that I can provide you with.
That'd be
people
great.
could donate, they can join my team. if they're around South Florida, they can even, hop on and walk with us. If they can't, just join in and donate for the cause. I'm getting donations from $10, $100. Some people give me $1,000, $1,500. Those were the most generous so far. But yeah,
we'll post all these links
That would be great.
as we post this
In the
my
show
charity-
notes.
Yeah, my charity gala dinner that I planned, I want to raise the money and then give it to the ALS Association. I want to give a third to them, a third to MGH for the research arm, and another third to the University of Miami ALS Center.
Awesome.
So, because I have two teams, I have the MGH team that diagnosed me. I have a local team that, supports me and gets me through my day-to-day needs with ALS, and then I have the ALS Association at large and for South Florida that I work with, and like I said, I'm a community champion for them. So, yeah, I have links for that. I'd love to.
Send them
send them to
all.
us.
Send
Yep.
them all.
We'll post them.
And check this out. This is kind of cool. Today I had another one of those moments where I was like, wait a second. Let me go back to work, and I work out of WeWork. So WeWork, like shared office space.
Yep.
So I go in there, and again, I like to talk with people. I'm like always networking left and right. That's my superpower, I'd say. If I like tell somebody what I'm good at,
One of them.
it's literally my superpower is networking. Bring people together for myself, for others, finding people jobs, finding opportunities, lifting up every stone and checking what's underneath. So I walked into WeWork today. I hadn't been there in a while. Said hi to the guys. I said, listen, I have this idea. I need to do this walk. Can you guys do some promotion for the walk for me with flyers? Can I get the ALS Association to host a happy hour at one of your offices at one of the main centers? And they said, oh, no problem, of course. We'll get it figured out. And I said, or maybe WeWork will do a corporate sponsorship because everybody, works remote and everything. It'd be cool. Possibly get more clients to come to WeWork. He said, yeah, I see that too. And I work out of one location in Brickell, Miami. WeWork has a location in Coral Gables, Brickell, South Beach, as well as Wynwood. And they invited me to have the ALS Association go to each one of those, have a happy hour at each one, bring in people from each one, post it on the website.
Nice.
So I'm going to get donations from them, get the exposure, hopefully get not all of them, but hopefully a lot of them to come walk with me. And keep snowballing. So that was a really fun thing.
That's
that happened just
amazing.
today.
Love it. Every day.
Every day.
Doors are opening and you're running through them and you're opening
It used
them.
to be what I did for my professional career, my work, and that's how things happened. And now I'm leveraging my skills from business for
Yes.
charity and how I can help others. So
I just love seeing that you're not just sitting back and waiting for something to happen to you, but you are making something happen.
thank you. That's exactly that's the message.
Yep.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Just sit and pray that it'll go away or something will happen. And that's why I tell my boys as well. You got to make it happen. You have to line it up. And then you have to give that extra push to actually set it in motion. And otherwise, it's not going to happen. And let me just tell you, I'm now, again, holding up my head because otherwise it just drops. Watch. Man. It kind of flips back and forth. My arms, I used to be, again, benching 150, 160. I could do 50 push-ups at a drop. And now my arms
Yeah.
are,
You said they were a lot more slender.
atrophied. My hands are atrophying. My legs are the next to go. I'm starting to have foot drop, as they say. So it's crazy. But guess what?
Albert,
Tomorrow,
you are amazing at showing who you are and what this is about and the strength.
Let me
guess
tell
what?
you, find it.
Tomorrow,
Or you were.
Tomorrow, I'm taking my family to Switzerland on ski vacation.
and he's going. You guys, he has a major trip tomorrow out of the country, and he's on a podcast with us. I mean,
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I've got my ski stuff out. It's on the bed. It's waiting to be
Love
put in
it.
the suitcase.
Love it.
hey, Clarissa, we've talked about having a bad week. We needed this this week,
Oh,
didn't
We
we?
did. We did.
Yep.
We did.
Holy crap. Yeah.
And kiss my ancestors home. Hello.
Oh,
I'm a Tune. I'm a Tune. Like that's my maiden name. So I'm from
Okay.
Switzerland.
No way.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Chicago.
No.
That's
So-
awesome. Yeah, so I'm taking the boys. We're going skiing in Davos on the weekend with the cousins. And then we're going to go to Ascona in Ticino. It's an Italian-speaking part for a couple days. And then head back to Padua Ghats, hit the thermal baths, and then...
Oh, that sounds nice.
Right? And then
Yeah.
have a big family dinner. I'm taking my wife out next Friday to a 3-star Michelin restaurant.
Mm.
And we fly back on Saturday.
Yeah.
Love that.
drop the mic. That's a drop the
Drop
mic.
the mic.
Yeah. Okay. Have fun. That is
Albert.
amazing.
Thank you so much. We hope to
Yeah,
have you
thank
on
you, guys.
again. We'd love to have you on again at some point
Absolutely.
and talk more about it and see what you're up to. We are going to do our best to promote this and get this out. Your
Oh,
story is
absolutely.
Yes.
Incredible.
Yes. Send Sabe all the
Mm.
icons and graphics and stuff. Let's get this. Let's get your walk out there, your gala out
Awesome.
there. Let's do
Yeah.
it.
okay.
Love it. Love it.
Thank
and
you.
once I have the commercial,
Oh,
they just sent me back feedback. They said they were happy with it. I did it in one take. They said, yep, we're going to do it. And like, you're going to get updates. It'll come like in the next couple of months or weeks, whatever. And yeah, there's cool stuff happening all around. I'll keep you posted.
Thank you
you
for
so
being
much.
thank you for being a light in this world, Albert.
Absolutely.
yes.
My pleasure.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too.
Thanks. You too.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
listeners.